Good morning. My name is Marietje Schaake and I'm a member of the European Parliament for the Dutch Democratic Party, D66. We're part of the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe. In the Parliament, I serve on the committees for international trade, for foreign affairs and for human rights. But the role that technology plays in our societies is also central to all my work. And I'm sorry I cannot join the seminar today, but I'm glad to be able to share some thoughts with you through this video. The question whether European integration can or even should be a goal when democratic consensus seems lacking is one that is tangibly present in my work every day. On the one hand, I believe that European integration, as any political decision, needs to be based on democratic values and mechanisms. And this means that there is also a need for public support. However, populism and democratic support are not the same, and they should not be equated. While the votes and voices of people are essential to be taken into consideration, there is also a need for leaders to take responsibility and to be willing and courageous enough to pave the way towards future measures, and at least to be accountable about decisions they've already made. And I see many politicians following public opinion and very few showing leadership in shaping the public debate. And when it comes to the EU level in particular, too often we see governments in member states blaming the EU or Brussels for a decision that they have themselves agreed with or even initiated. It is striking that lobbyists have increasingly found their way to Brussels, while journalists and the national media still mostly focus on European capitals. This creates a lack of information and public scrutiny, which reinforces the idea of Brussels as a bubble or top-down entity with a will of its own. At the same time, members of parliament such as myself can do more and should do more to give insights into the work we do, from the jargon that goes with it to what that means in practice. We need to be creative when we look for good examples to demonstrate how the EU has improved people's lives. For example, I'm the spokesperson for the Liberal group on the trade agreement that is now being negotiated between the EU and the US. And in meetings with negotiators, we talk about technically regulatory convergence and mutual recognition. But when I speak to entrepreneurs or farmers in the Netherlands or elsewhere in Europe, I explain how the trade agreement could make it easier for small and medium-sized enterprises to take their business across the Atlantic, or that it will be easier for European dairy farmers to access the American market if we can make sure they accept food safety standards. We cannot expect support for the results of decision-making on the EU level to be supported automatically. But essentially we face a broader problem with the legitimacy of authority. Whether it is the City Council or the European Parliament, frankly, many people do not feel very close to the decisions made or to the people making them. And the fact that voter turnout is low in elections in our open, democratic societies should be of concern to everyone, not just for the politicians who seek support for their mandate. People should get a stronger sense that they can make a difference with their vote and that their representatives will make a difference for them. Sometimes the urgency does not come from within, in an intrinsic matter. Sadly speaking, I think that that is the case in Europe today. It is more popular to compare whether the Netherlands or Germany pays less per capita to the EU than to look at why we need a stronger Europe on the global stage, for example. Some of what we build up in Europe is so valuable, but effectively invisible. And perhaps the fighting in the Ukraine or the war in Syria serve as a reminder that peace, security and democratic values cannot be taken for granted. More than ever, the EU is a way for European countries and citizens to retain and develop their quality of life and our common position in the world. That reality cannot be reduced to a discussion about sovereignty. After all, sovereign governments, democratically elected, decided to create the freedoms of Europe. Free movement of people, capital, goods and services. And the Lisbon Treaty added a common foreign and security policy, which is indeed still very much going through growing pains. A lot has to be improved on the EU level in order for us to show the added value of integration, not by arguments, but by real results for people. To further increase the visibility of the EU level and the processes that we are engaged with here that impact people's lives all across the EU, we need to make sure that those procedures and processes are made more transparent and accessible. New technologies and the internet give us the tools to reach out to a large number of people, but we need to make sure we use them properly. Simple things can be done to improve the accessibility of websites and legislative information and to increase participation in the way in which they're made. It would be a good idea to make draft texts available on the internet and to ask for comments and input from different people and stakeholders. I've done this in the past and it actually led to very useful results. By increasing transparency, we can also increase accountability. And this in turn will allow citizens to participate more constructively in the process of lawmaking and democratic oversight. Realistically speaking, however, this will always be a small number of people, but the possibility should be as open and available as possible. Creativity in how we engage with people about what kind of European Union they want is essential, and this is a political debate much more than a campaign or communication activity. Now, I hope you will have a fruitful further discussion about these very important topics, and I look forward to continuing the conversation online or through my website. Thank you.